All right. Good evening and welcome to Hartland Township and the Planning Commission meeting of June 22nd, 2017. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sue, would you take roll, please?
Sure. Chairperson Larry Fox.
Here.
Joseph Kalani.
Here.
Michael Mitchell.
Here.
Tom Murphy.
Here.
Myself. And absent right now is Jeff Newsom and Keith. And then our planning director, Troy.
All right. Thank you, Sue. Next up, item 4, approval of our meeting agenda.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kalani, second from Commissioner Mitchell. Are there any changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, item 5, approval of our May 25th, 2017 meeting minutes.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Mitchell, a second from Commissioner Murphy. Are there any changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Call to the public. Anyone this evening? We have another one at the end of the meeting, too. Seeing none, we'll close item 6. We'll move to item 7, and we are on item 7A. This is a rezoning application number 17-001. Aslan, former Turning 2 site. As I mentioned, a rezoning. Anybody from the applicant want to come forward? You can. Grab an extra chair there. I think what we'll do tonight is we'll turn the floor over to our planning director, Troy Langer. He can introduce the project if you guys would like to add anything, and then we'll have a little conversation. So, Troy, it's all yours.
Okay. Just to give a little bit of background, the property that we're talking about for this rezoning is commonly called the corner of Clyde Road and 23. And this being US 23 going north and south, Clyde Road intersecting with 23, and then somewhat outlined in orange. Maybe I'll dim the light a little bit. Outlined in orange is the property. It's about 94 acres in area. The applicant is requesting to rezone about 74 and a half acres. Essentially, this westerly leg, if you will, would not be rezoned. So the rest of the property they are requesting to rezone. The vast majority of this property is zoned CA. That's a conservation agricultural zoning category. There is almost a 1 acre commercial piece up at the extreme northeast corner along Clyde Road that is zoned commercial. They are requesting to rezone this to light industrial. Little bit of background history. This property had received approval for a recreation facility of a softball/baseball field that had an indoor facility as well as some outdoor facilities. The applicant decided to not pursue that project. They had requested their performance bond be released for the project. At that time, the applicant had already made certain improvements on the site. They had graded the site, removed some of the trees on the site, and installed the building foundation and had delivered the building materials to the site. So as part of the release of the performance bond, which is administered by the Township Board, they established a few conditions associated with that, and they gave the applicant 1 year to fulfill those conditions or have the building materials removed from the site. We came up to the 1 year time period. Just before the 1 year time period, the applicant made this request for rezoning Some of the neighbors attended that hearing for the rezoning, had some concerns about that. The Planning Commission postponed the rezoning request to further research those items related to the existing conditions on the site. And since that time, the applicant has done a couple things. One, they have requested an additional time extension to have the building materials remain on the site. The Township Board has granted that time extension until July 12th. At that point, if the applicant requests additional time, they would have to go back to the Township Board and present to the board their reasons for wanting to extend that. I'll just leave that at that, and the board is essentially handling that part of it. As far as the other parts of it, the applicant was required to install 8 evergreen trees to kind of screen one of the existing homes out there. They did that about a year ago. Since that time, I think it was 6 of those trees had passed away. The applicant has said they would replace those trees, and that's in their letter, but they would prefer to replace those trees in the fall when it's more conducive to the installation of new trees. So they're back here requesting essentially the rezoning of this property to light industrial. And with that, I'll just leave it open for any questions or comments.
Okay. Anything that, well, first of all, introduce yourself, and then anything you'd like to add.
Sure. I'm Kevin Johnson with Rhodes & Johnson. Ms. Ray Ambach with Aslan McLean Architectural Group, subbing in for John tonight. We don't know where John's at, but John's not here. And David Kennedy, owner of the property. And so, obviously, we've been here lots, and we appreciate all the work through the ups and downs with us. And so we appreciate all you guys have done. And we're obviously here to be proactive on the future. And really, that's really why we're here. So
Okay.
we appreciate that.
All right. Planning Commissioners, you have a letter in your packet, the second page, dated June 13th from them, pretty much summarizing what Troy had said. Troy, I guess my question would be on the trees and all that. Do we still have some money in escrow if, for some reason, we had to complete that task in the fall?
Yes, we do. We had a significant amount of money in escrow set up for the construction of the recreation facility. The applicant, Mr. Kennedy, elected to leave all that money sit in that escrow account to be used for the removal of the building materials if they're not removed timely, and or the installation of the trees. So in my opinion, there's significant funds available for that, somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe $45,000. So
I think it's right around 41.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions? Any comments from anyone?
The Township Board took up the issue Tuesday night with regard to their request for a 60-day extension to remove the materials. I think at that point, the Township Board, I think, gave them until July 12th to come up with, it was a plan. I think it was the plan. Did you have an opportunity to talk to anyone at the Township following that meeting?
Yeah, Troy followed up with me, and so we knew I did get that.
So my question would be, do you have a plan?
Yeah, so obviously, any of the stuff we talked about in the past, until the property's rezoned, it's hard to do anything. We actually lost a really good opportunity. As you know, that one research and development, they moved to Warren. They just moved out of Fenton last week. The building's empty, and they moved to Warren. So they were, the jobs that we're looking for in the township, most people don't want to wait a year or two to move their location. So that was an obstacle there. We have another person, along with David's current business, that want to go there, but no plans can be made to consolidate. He has multiple facilities to combine either those to move there or other people. Well, we've had a lot of interest, as you know. So the same question to everybody is, you can't put it there until it's rezoned. So we have proactive plans to, if it never was anything, which again, it's a valuable asset. There's $1 million worth of material in steel and foundations there. So there's a lot of It's not just going to be left. So we want to use it for its intended purposes, which is why it's in this current state, because that's the goal, is to, do good things, and it's a great location for development.
I just want to clarify, because I think I was involved in those meetings with that potential companies moving from Fenton, to make sure that everybody understands the issue was they just couldn't build a building from scratch in the time frame they had to work with.
That's right.
Rezoned or not.
That's correct.
You couldn't.
It wasn't our rezoning issue that.
No. They could not have, if they had worked 24/7, could not have met the timeline of constructing a 65,000 square foot or 60,000 square foot industrial building. So the applicant was actually looking for an existing facility, because they were had to move out of their building in Fenton. I just want to make that.
Yeah. No, it's the same as we all work in southeastern Michigan. We all could agree the automotive industry is extremely busy, and there aren't enough facilities. When I draw a line from, say, Ann Arbor to Flint or Saginaw, there aren't any empty buildings. So companies looking to be anywhere in this area, there aren't any. So that's just where we're at in this economy.
Well,
better than 2008 when we all had empty buildings sitting around, right?
Exactly. I guess I'll just restate my position. I supported the rezoning back a few weeks ago when this was originally here. It follows the master plan. We had a few open issues. It would appear as though they've addressed them for me. So that's where I stand this evening. Anybody else have comments on that, on this, or questions for him?
I can clarify. One of the comments that was made that the building foundation was not covered. One of the requirements for the removal of the performance bond was to cover the foundation, and then we heard some comments that the building foundation is not covered. So what I've got is a picture here on the site that this is a portion of the foundation that is not covered. There's these type of square concrete areas with the steel sticking out of them. That was never intended for that portion to be covered. If this would drop down and extend, these would all kind of connect, and the next picture I've got maybe shows succession of these things. These particular portions were not intended to be covered. They're intended to be exposed. So when we researched it, and you can see these are the pictures that were taken from 5/30 of this year. That is the only portion of the foundation that's actually out, and in my opinion, that's consistent with what was discussed and approved by the Township Board at the time that they authorized the release of the performance guarantee.
Right. And you'll see if you look at that June 13th letter, it's in there.
Troy, what was that release of the performance bond?
Any development is required to put up a performance guarantee. Probably most common would be a performance bond. That bond is some sort of insurance that the project is going to get done, and all the requirements that are made part of the approval are going to be completed to the approved plan. And in the event the applicant doesn't, then the township would have the ability to contact the bonding company and say, we need you to release some of those funds so we can go do it. It all sounds real nice. It doesn't work this way in the real world, but it all sounds nice and easy.
The question was when. I'm sorry. It wasn't what is it?
That was June of 2016.
Well, we're still holding $40,000+.
Yeah. So that bond, it costs money for them to have. Every year it costs them so many $1,000s. I'm just guessing on the cost. But they wanted to release that, otherwise they'd be locked into payments of having that bond. And so the only way that could have been released was by the township agreeing to release it. The Township Board has the authority to do that. They did release it subject to some conditions, and you have copies of all that stuff.
So in the one-year time period, the reason the materials weren't removed what was that reason?
Because we want to stick them up in the air. We want to install them. So you can't, so the reason it was a mixed-use property development before, so we wanted to use it for industrial because they own an industrial business. In the short term, his daughter, who's a senior, who's graduating, was going to be playing softball, so it could be an ancillary use on the property. So it could be, in its current state, could be a support building to a recreation. But then the long term is then when that was done someday, those fields would go away and it would be an industrial park. That's why it was bought. It's what we told the township from the beginning. The only problem was that the softball didn't work out, and we all, have said that. But we'd like to continue that, and so, it's an industrial building in its same state, and we want to install it back up.
Do you have any site plans going?
No, currently. I have not yet, no, because it would be the same thing. Like, if we installed it, it would have to be exactly the way the township approved it with the brick and the same look, because the building can't be changed. So, like I said, there's $1 million sitting there that needs to be used there. It's not.
Troy, did you say there was an extension till July 12th?
For a plan.
For the plan.
Right.
Okay, and the 2-month, Joe, would be till August 20th?
Yeah, we didn't grant that.
Did not. Yeah. Did not.
Well, we wanted to know what was going on. I mean, part of it is just getting a better understanding of what's going to happen there. I think the residents were real concerned that it's taken a year to kind of come up with a plan. And
Yeah.
the bill's been sitting out and everything else.
I agree with all that. The issue with having but a site plan is with a rezoning is even if they showed us one, they don't have to live with it.
No, I know that, but I think it would be helpful to have a better understanding of what the plan is, so that there's some idea.
I think the June 12th date,
July 12th.
or July 12th, the Township Board has a meeting on July 11th. So if there's a decision made here, it's likely that this rezoning would move to the Township Board for the July 11th. That would give the board an opportunity to discuss with the applicant these sort of things and discuss a plan as to what they're going to do. And if they wanted to grant an extension, they could do so at that time as well, or not grant an extension, and then the applicant would be required to remove the building materials.
And we are only a recommending body on this anyways. So
Yeah, and we're really
by
not
getting
even-
it to the board can deal with it and deal with the open issues.
Yeah, I watched the Township Board meeting Tuesday night remotely, and I'm in agreement with the fact that the Township Board is very aware of the situation. They're monitoring it. They've set a plan in place, and just as Chairman Fox has mentioned, we're basically down to our responsibility here of whether we approve the rezoning or not. The rest of the discussion will occur to the Township Board. So I don't have any further issues with the property based upon the conditions that we stated in the previous meeting.
And so I think Mike put it very well, so I would agree with Mike.
Okay. Anything else, Sue? Joe? Okay. If there are no further questions, there is in your packet, there is the original letter from staff dated May 18th on the back page, packet page number 22. There is a motion, if you're so inclined, to present one.
I move to recommend approval of rezoning application number 17-001, a request to rezone approximately 74.5 acres. That includes the property addressed at the southwest corner of Clyde Road and Old US 23, parcel ID number 4708-008-200-027. That would be rezoning it from current conservative agriculture and general commercial to light industrial based on the following findings. Number one, the requested in light industrial zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. to the requested light industrial zoning is intended to serve as a transition from US 23 located to the east and residential located farther to the west. 3 potential uses allowed in the requested light industrial zoning are compatible with surrounding uses and zoning when developed in compliance with the township zoning regulations. And 4, the subject property can comply with the dimensional requirements of light industrial district.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion to recommend approval from Commissioner Mitchell, second from Commissioner Grissom. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck at the board.
Thank you.
Next up is item 7B. This is site plan application number 17-008, Imagine Theater amendment to their site plan.
Okay.
Would you like to come forward? What we're going to do is turn this floor over to Troy, let him introduce the project again, where we are today, why we're here, and then we'll turn the floor over to the applicant. Anything he'd like to add? Planning Commission, Planning Director, and applicant can have a conversation afterwards. So, Troy, it's all you.
Okay, thank you. This request is to modify the previously approved site plan for Imagine Theater. This is the previously approved site plan. This is the 64,000, almost 600 square foot theater building that I have up on the screen right now. This project received approval from the township just this year, January, and the applicant has decided to change the building by reducing the size of it by eliminating this, called the south westerly wall, if you will. So this is the area that they've changed. I'm going to try to find so this is the new plan. That's 55,132 square feet. It's in the same general location. I think from the staff report you might notice that it's got a slight variation in the number of feet it's set back differently from the other one, but generally it's going to be in the same location. It is designed the same way. It is the same building materials. They've, in a nutshell, just lopped off this portion over here and replaced that with some kind of a maneuvering lane and maybe some parking in here. They've designated this area as a future building expansion in the future. There's no definitive plans at this point for that building addition, but that in a nutshell is a project. The reason that it had to come back in front of you is the Planning Commission has jurisdiction over site plan review items, and this is a modification to that site plan, which is within the Planning Commission's authority to review. And the Planning Commission, once it makes its decision, would be the final decision, and the applicant would then move on to essentially pre-construction and moving towards construction of this. So, all right. With that, I'll leave it open for questions or comments.
Thank you, Troy. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Would you like to introduce yourself and anything you'd like to add?
I'm Michael Southen from Signature Associates, and I represent Imagine Theaters and their real estate and development matters, and I'm pleased to be back here again to bring the project back in a slightly redesigned basis. And I think Troy covered it pretty well. I might take a moment, though, just to clarify a little bit the concept of the expansion and so forth. Troy, is it possible for you to put the floor plan up?
Yeah.
And there's even the elevations are also designed to reflect the. It shows it with and without the addition. So
just bear with me here as I.
Yeah, you're in the engineering.
I got a couple more pages here to go. Oops.
Oh, here we go. So there we are. There's the floor plan.
All right. Sorry about that. It was
Let me
sticking.
give this a try. So this is the original floor plan. So do you have the reduced one?
I do.
This is good. Actually, you can see how it was originally set up. And
I'll go to the.
that was the 64,000 square foot plan.
$4,000 question.
It's all right. We don't have it. That's okay. Oh,
Oh, it's got to be down here.
I've seen it. It's in our packet.
yeah, I think that's the old one.
This packet is so big that it's
No wonder, huh?
it's causing the computer to kind of stall on me there. So
This is going to be it.
It's not just your computer.
so I apologize.
Okay, here we are. This is the new, I think the new site plan. So,
Yeah. Whoop.
so if we look at the site
I
plan,
must
this maybe we can go down to the.
I didn't see the floor plan there.
It's probably. Here we go. There we're into the right area now. Well,
It's not me stopping
Yeah.
it. It just kind of sticks. Here, it's right below here.
yeah, it's just there we go. It's just
Okay.
There we are.
Ta-da.
So what we this is a good a good view of what was changed. So if you remember the other layout, we had a group of all the auditoriums were sort of arranged in this north-south kind of configuration, and to bring this down to the 9 screens, we created a few smaller auditoriums in this cluster, and actually we wound up shaving about almost 10,000 square feet out of the building, and that was key to reducing our costs and right-sizing the building to the market at this time. This building is 1,140 seats now, all recliners, and it's actually a little bit bigger than our Imagine Macomb, which is one of the top theaters in the Imagine chain. That is also 9 screens, but 1,086 seats, and this is more than adequate to serve what we believe to be the market in this area. If we're pleasantly surprised that we have a lot more demand than we think, and that it's all kind of demographic guesswork. You know, there's a little bit of science and a little bit of guesswork to it, and we hope we're right when we do these projections. But this is the area that we can add on 2 additional screens, and we've designed the building specifically in this area to connect right in. So this addition is, I think, 7,185 feet, and it contains 160 seats and 2 screens. So we call that would be our phase 2, and this building would be phase 1. If possible, I would ask that you might approve both of those at this time. I know there's a limit to how long the site plan approval can stay in effect, but whether we'll know within the first year that we want to build this, I'm not sure. We knew in Macomb within the first year that we wanted to add on, and that would happen to be a building where it was a conversion of a former Kroger, and our site was a little bit tight and didn't allow for it. We weren't able to plan when we did the original conversion. So here we've been able to do that, and it would be nice if we could, if it does appear to be warranted, that we could sort of expedite the process to build. So in our parking situation remains relatively the same. We added a little bit more parking by reducing the size of the building, and overall, as I was just telling Larry before the meeting, this turned out to be kind of a serendipity for us in actually creating a more efficient design than we originally had, which we labored over quite a while. So we're real happy with this. The appearance of the building, I think, is still very attractive. We haven't changed a thing in any of the materials, and the extension. There's Troy, can we go down a little bit?
Yep.
Scroll down. We have an elevation that shows there's the new front, and what I've done is expanded this feature a little bit to increase the proportionality, since this section is also shorter than it was originally. So then if we go down a little bit more, I can show you here we go. This is kind of depicted in a lighter tone, and this would be what the addition would look like if we were to go ahead with it. And this is from the front view, obviously, and this is from the rear. So that's how it would look added onto the building, and shows the sort of the architectural continuity that we've planned or designed into it. And I think that pretty well covers it.
All right.
Any questions?
Yeah, we've probably got a couple for you. Let's hit the staff letter here real quick. It's short, dated June 15th. We move to packet page number 25. A lot of these are yes, but let's just get it on record that we reviewed it. So you'll see at the top site plan and then the number. First thing we need to take a look at are the building setbacks. Are they met? The answer was yes. The off-street parking still is yes. Flipping the page now. We're up to the lighting. Requires a photometric plan. Where did we land with that, Troy, on the photometric plan?
Well, their previous photometric plan complied. I don't see any problems with the changes that they're talking about, although we just haven't seen did they submit a photometric plan? I don't see any problems with this particular, the light fixtures that they have.
It's the same.
So just pointing out that we didn't get a photometric plan, but I don't foresee problems since they already have an approved site plan that did comply, and just relocating those light fixtures, I can't envision they're going to create problems.
Okay. Landscaping is consistent with the previously approved plan. Any suggestions? We're all okay. You're okay with the landscape plan that was submitted?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same as the original plan.
Yeah. So now we're down to basically the Hartland Township DPW review. He's approving it, contingent upon securing the REUs that are necessary. The township engineer is just going to wait for construction plans. That's a typical comment. Fire marshal's okay from the notes in the previous letter. Are there any questions?
I have a question just to clarify a couple things on your landscape plan. Last time we reviewed it, we thought it was great, I just am trying to understand around the theater. In some places you talk about some lawn areas. In other areas, I really can't really tell what's going on, and I just what's been happening is we've been looking at different properties around our township, and there's been a lot of mulch areas, so I just thought if you could clarify, just walk around the building on the plan and just say, is it mostly lawn and shrubs? And that's like right at the end, Troy. It's like the second from last sheet. If that helps you, there you go. Is that
it's a little hard to see,
You have to
but
blow that up
absolutely
a lot.
nothing has changed.
That's
And this is okay.
Go with me.
There you go.
We've concentrated a good deal of landscaping in these islands.
Yes.
And with plantings and trees to create sort of a nice entry. These berms are all, and again, this is about 1,600 lineal feet of frontage on this berm. So this is a combination of plantings and trees and shrubs and some areas of mulch and sod.
Yep, and
so
where
forth.
my question is, it's right around your building, what we call the foundation landscape.
There.
And some areas point at some sod, and other areas don't really say what it is, and that, I was just trying to clarify that. So like an example.
There's some data.
Yeah, like right in there.
Right in here is.
It's hard to know.
Yeah, my recollection is it's really hard to tell right now. But there were some small plants, foundation plants in the areas around these exit. This is an exit door right here, so you can see that there's some plantings in here. And we had a little bigger area in here, but since that section is now probably less than half the size it was originally, as we contracted the building, that has changed a little bit. I think we've still got some benches and so forth alongside of the main entrance where folks can wait for somebody to pick them up and so forth, or wait to get their car for valet. So it would be easier to see if it was bigger. But,
maybe we can sort this out a little later. I just want to make sure that it's not just, it's hard to tell. There's a couple areas called lawn, and then the rest is just not pointed at. Maybe we just could follow up and get it clarified where's lawn and mulch. Since it's hard to see
be
right
happy
now.
to.
Okay.
I don't think we've changed anything around. I mean, this area is a little smaller, but I know we have foundation plants.
And you do.
In these areas. And
exactly.
Same way back here, you can see, I think you can see
So like
them.
right there where you're,
right there.
And now go a little bit to the right. You've got a row of trees right there, but underneath them, it doesn't say, is it lawn, is it mulch? Because that's like a 12-foot wide bed. What is there on the ground?
Oh, here?
Question. No, just go right to your building.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, right in there.
So maybe the thing to do is on the final set of plans, just have it detailed.
We'll clarify it.
We'll just clarify it. Because it's a lovely plan. It's just one of those things lately we've been seeing a lot of mulch around. We're like, we just want to check that.
Okay.
Thank you. Just a question.
Do you have any more questions?
No, it was just that.
Okay.
It's a really nice plan.
Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, I believe on page 5 or packet page number 27, you will find a motion. And I think you probably need to strike the first few words, because usually in the motion we don't say the planning department recommends, so we would probably say something else than that, like move to approve.
All right, I move to approve the site plan application number 17-008, a request to amend the previous approved plans for Imagine Theater in Hartland Town Square Plan Development and construct an approximate 55,132 square foot Imagine Theater with the following conditions. The applicant shall adequately address the outstanding items noted in the Planning Department's memorandum dated June 15, 2017, on the construction plan set, subject to an administrative review by the planning staff prior to the issuance of a land use permit. Applicant complies with any requirements of the Department of Public Works Director, Township Engineering Consultant, and Hartland Deerfield Fire Authority Fire Marshal. And then 3 is all previous conditions from prior approvals shall remain in effect. I don't know if we want to say that also in your final application, turn in a photometric plan that maybe is with this footprint.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Okay. Do you have a second on that?
Yep, I'll support that.
Okay. We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Grissom, second from Commissioner Newsom. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those, or hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
you very
Congratulations, and thank you very much. Thank you. All right, next up is item 7C. This is site plan application number 17-006. This is the Culver's Restaurant. Good evening. If you guys want to have a seat, a few familiar faces here. We'll follow the same routine. Let's turn the floor over to Troy. He'll introduce the project for us. You guys can then introduce yourself, anything you'd like to add, and then we'll have a conversation, probably taking a outline of the staff letter dated June 15th. So Troy, it's up to you now.
Okay. I'm going to use their little location map here, if I can zoom in. Bear with me. So the applicant is LRKR Incorporated. They are proposing to construct a brand-new restaurant with a drive-through window. The restaurant would be a Culver's restaurant. The location of that is next to Tim Hortons. It's within the same planned development as Imagine. Imagine was just over in this area. This is M59 going through here. This is 23 Clark Road in this area. And you can see Tim Hortons here. So they would be in this property just to the east of Tim Hortons, and their property would have frontage on Rovey Road as well as M59. And the plan development specifically allows a drive-through restaurant as a use that's permitted in this PD, different than the general commercial, which requires a special use permit for a drive-through window. The PD made a provision that a special use permit was not a requirement. However, this PD limits the number of drive-through businesses within this development. It's limited to 2 drive-through restaurants. The first one would be Taco Bell, that's up and operating. They would be over in this area. And then this now becomes the second one. Tim Hortons would be classified as a drive-through coffee shop. One drive-through coffee shop is permitted there, so that fulfills that. There is some other drive-through uses permitted. I think they're permitted a bank. I think a total of 7 maybe in total. But this would be the end of any drive-through restaurants within this entire plan development. The project itself is, and this is acting up a little bit, maybe I'll switch to this. The project itself is right here. This is the site plan. Rovey Road would be right through here. M59 would be towards the bottom of the monitor. Clark Road would be over here just beyond what you can see. I'll zoom in a little bit further. So the restaurant's somewhat centrally located, parking almost in a U shape around the restaurant with the drive-through kind of coming in over here. This project was discussed by the Site Plan Review Committee on a couple of occasions. We worked through a number of issues with this particular development, and now he's here before the Planning Commission requesting approval. And with that, I'll just leave it open for any questions or comments you might have.
All right. If you guys would like to introduce yourself and anything you'd like to add.
Good evening. My name is Lloyd Rayburn. I'm with LRKR Incorporated.
My name is Cameron Horvath on behalf of Boston Engineering, the applicant's project engineer. And to my left here is Brent Levanway, also with Boston Engineering.
Okay, great. Anything you'd like to add to the presentation, or would you like us to start with the letter? Your choice.
You can go ahead.
Yep. You think so? All right. If everybody has the staff letter dated June 15th, packet page 77 at the bottom starts just the existing conditions. I think for the most part Troy covered those for us. The overview, just for the public's benefit, we do not need an impact assessment on this for this particular use. We need no traffic study. And there is discussion of a land division or a shifting of a lot line that would take place after an approval. So moving on to the requirements itself on packet page 79, lot size, it's undefined. So there is no minimum requirement on that.
Yeah, there's no minimum. Just for clarification, the general commercial requires a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet. This is 1.26 acres.
Yeah. Frontage not applicable here, according to the staff review, and the building setbacks are all being met. Building height is fine. Lot coverage is undefined in this plan development, but I think anybody would look at that and feel that this probably is about the right size property for a facility of this size.
It would meet the general commercial standards if this were zoned commercial and our zoning district applied. So.
Okay. So I'm at the top of packet page 80, off-street requirements. Meets the requirement, yes, meets the pattern book requirements and current parking standards. Troy, what's your comment there? What are you bringing to light there?
This just is talking about the zoning ordinance requiring 22 spaces per 1,000 square feet of usable floor area, and then you've got employees during peak shift, and then 10 stacking spaces for the drive-through, 5 of which must be in advance of the order station. Based on that, it looks like they'd need like 35 spaces plus 14 for the highest number of employees, which gets them to 49, which is more than they're required to have based on the pattern book standards. But they comply with the what's required per the zoning ordinance. It's just pointing out the difference between the zoning ordinance and the pattern book. They comply with both. So.
All right. Barrier-free parking looks like we're good. Loading space, you just want to highlight that for us real quick?
So the loading space is a place where the trucks that deliver products to the store would be able to park. Generally, on a site plan, there's an area designated for that. The loading trucks typically will arrive on an off time, either early in the morning or later. And generally, we'll just have an area designated, sometimes even within the maneuvering lane or maneuvering aisles for that. And the question is up to the Planning Commission to decide if they're okay with that. It's more at the Planning Commission's jurisdiction to decide if they like that location of the loading zone or not. So I'm just pointing that out, that it's not specifically provided, but if you so desire to have him draw one on there, I don't think there'd be any problems with him being able to do that and comply.
But what he's proposing, we've approved in just about everything else. He doesn't want a semi-truck in there while they're open either.
That's right.
So are you fine with what's proposed?
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Dumpster enclosure looks like we're fine. Outdoor eating areas, everything is looking pretty good there. All the way through page 81, back up on the top of page 82. If you have any questions or comments on it, just stop me. But
there's just a comment on the outdoor furniture, on the corporate logo or business name. Just a reminder that the township does not allow corporate logos or business names on awnings or furniture. We have talked with that with the applicant. I don't foresee any problems, but we did run into this with another business that just opened not too long ago, and we thought we'd made that clear, and then we showed up on site and found that didn't comply, and so I'm trying to hopefully avoid that again if I can.
Okay. Lighting. Guess this is the first area we have something to talk about. What do we have in the lighting department?
So the lighting sets number of standards for the maximum in certain locations. It sets a maximum at property lines, and what we've done is identified what the maximum is at various property lines: the west property line, the south property line, the east and the north property line. Although the lighting levels in total comply, there are a couple areas there where they exceed the maximum amount permitted. The Planning Commission does have the ability to grant a waiver on the lighting, and the applicant has requested a waiver on that. So the staff report is just identifying what those differences are, and it's up to the Planning Commission to decide whether they want to grant a waiver.
Anything you want to add or about lighting?
Yeah, so essentially, as Troy had mentioned, one of the areas that we exceeded lighting levels was light trespass across the property line. And I guess like to point out, I guess if you guys will look to your left or your right, depending on which way you're facing, over here on the M59 exit, we've actually placed 2 lights for the entrance off M59. This actually is not on our property. There is an easement that's existing here that allows access onto our site. But in placing a light here for safe entrance into the site, we've obviously exceeded lighting because we put a light fixture on the outside of the property. So that's one area where we do exceed. And then it's essentially the same story up here. We've put some light fixtures up here just by the entrances. We felt we were just trying to help provide illumination for safety and ingress and egress onto the site. And same with over here. And then also the building entrance. I believe the average foot candle allowable is about 5, and I think because of some architectural lighting, Wisconsin's, and some gooseneck fixtures, we're at about 7 or 7.4. So it is a little bit brighter than the average that's allowed in the zoning ordinance. But typically, or we feel that, especially at nighttime or in the winter, that highly illuminated entrance isn't necessarily a bad thing, but could help with ice or slipping or something like that. So we felt it was justified. And then the trespass on the property line, this currently is undeveloped, and this is a Tim Hortons, so it's not that we're abutting a residential community. I guess we figured we were within, I guess, kind of our own limits or justification in providing some higher illumination levels.
Comments? Question?
Well, I do a lot of lighting plans myself.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, there are these standards. We kind of set them. I believe 5-foot candle illumination at a front entrance is kind of a legitimately bright entrance. To go to 7 does seem higher. The part about the ice, LED lights don't do any heat, so that doesn't help with your ice. That's, So I've had to fool around. You can go back and kind of play with your photometrics, all that. Have you guys tried a couple rounds to meet in our requirements?
Yeah, we could go back and change our grid pattern. I know you probably are familiar with that.
I mean, you can usually play with it a little bit and get a little closer. I just don't know that you really honestly need to get brighter than 5. 5's pretty bright at a front door. And so there's a lot of cities out there, as you know, don't go to Novi. They don't even let you go over 1.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm just making a comment that, sure, we want to make it safe.
Yep.
But again, we're also trying to balance how much light we put out in our community. I know we're on M59, okay, we get it. But it's a cumulative effect. This is a comment.
Okay. Well, and I don't know lighting very well. I know how to read the plan and the numbers and know when it says 0 at the property line. So there's what I can tell you and see the building. But if you're telling me 7 is noticeable, then noticeably different than 5?
Well, it's all relative. It depends on your ambient light and all of that. But again, we have standards. I think they're reasonable standards. I think you could achieve them and still be safe. Just as a comment, I just don't like to go outside of our standards unless there's a real reason. That's all. I think it's great to have the lighting coming off of 59 at the entrance, because again, you're taking bright, to get your eyes adjusted.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a lot of curbs get run over. But otherwise, I just don't like to go beyond what our rules are unless there's a real reason that we have to. And I don't know that there's a hardship. I think you could get there.
Do you think you can get there?
We could certainly look back into it. Lloyd, is there a corporate lighting standard on architecture that those entrance fixtures are required to be there? Anything or?
Well, I think there's a certain amount of, talking about the sconces, it would be on the side of the main entrance.
Right.
They're more or less a standard architectural feature. I mean, we can look at what light bulbs are in those. But, I mean, looking back at the notes, I think it's still over, but I think we're showing 6.2 instead of...
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah.
It's, to your point, it's still over. We can look and see whether we can dial that in a little bit or whether it's something that would be more difficult to do.
Are you guys fine with that?
Yeah, I have a question. Sue, are you fine with the lighting at M59 and at Rovey Drive?
So he started out saying he has 2 lights when you get off of, or is it 1? Right at the entrance when we were pulling off 59 into their driveway, they put a light there just so you could really see the drive.
Correct.
Which, is a good thing. I think you all know subdivision entrances, that's nice to have the light there. But then they've got brighter light at the front doors going into the store that exceed our standards. So that was something I'm questioning, because I just feel that a 5-foot candle reading, that's our standard. It's pretty bright. And I just would like to try to hold in our standard unless we can't. Because again, all these properties start to add, and there's this whole thing about trying to keep our light levels down in our community.
And that was, I guess my question was, I would defer to you if the lights at the entrance on 59 and the exit at Rovey Road are
I
good.
think those are reasonable to do at the entrances. I think it makes a lot of safety sense so you can see it, so people aren't really slowing down and causing accidents to find the drive. But within the site and then the front door, I don't see a need that we need to have it so bright.
Okay. Everybody agreeing?
Okay.
Okay, so if you make note of that one.
Yep.
You pick that up in your motion at the end, should we get there?
Okay.
So we've discussed that. We're at maximum illumination, fixture height. Just a question on it. I know your light fixtures on the building are white. Are the parking lot fixtures the bronze or black? I didn't pick it up in the print.
They're black.
They're black, okay. I'm over on packet page number 83. Proposed light fixture styles. Troy, I think we're just going to, one of these times around with Ramco, maybe we'll just, when we make a change, maybe we'll just change these light fixtures to what everybody's using. There's been such a change in light fixtures since that pattern book. We're approving them all, but...
So the pattern book shows the older halogen-style lights, and now there's been advances in LED, the app, and generally that's presumed to be a much better light fixture to go with. Of course, as the applicant is proposing that, but it's not directly what the pattern book shows, so there's a note there that the Planning Commission would need to accept that as being a suitable replacement. And I think the chair has pointed out it's just a matter of the pattern book, which really isn't even all that old, is almost out of date, at least on the top.
Probably wouldn't matter if the economy hadn't changed.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's been a lot of change in that. So, all right, we're still on packet page 83, landscaping. Troy, let's just touch on this Rovey Drive planting that you're referring to.
Yeah. So there is a easement that runs through this area. It kind of goes around the sign. But this easement area creates problems. Easements and landscaping conflict. And this area is 20-foot wide easement areas, or 20-foot wide, 20-foot wide easement area, is making it difficult to comply with the requirement for trees. And the applicants requested a landscape waiver in this. Is this where the landscape waiver is? But this is the area that is, well, the Planning Commission has to determine if this is, the proposed landscaping is sufficient to comply with the PD, and given the constraints that exist there.
We went through this at our site plan review committee meeting.
We did. This was one of the topics that we wrestled with the applicant on, and
I think you need to work with him. There's just between the curve and the road and the easements and what you can do.
You plant there.
Right.
He has plants and they have plants in there, but you just got to work with what's there.
Right.
Right.
All right.
Maybe you could berm it slightly. Get a little relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would help.
I'm fine with it the way it is.
Okay.
But
All right.
anyone else?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay with me.
I'd leave it the way it is.
All right, we're going to leave it the way it is.
Fine.
Okay, so now we've talked the Highland Road M59, and then we're talking the parking lot, the open space, total landscaping requirements. Looks like everything's meeting. There's just a question here, and we're probably going to have to defer to Sue. Tonight's Sue's night. Shrubs, changing plant materials, you okay with the comparable list?
Yep, I think the list, all the materials are very tough and hardy to this parking lot environment. I'm going to ask you, please, just to look at your plants and look at their sizes that they get to grow to versus how much mulch is left in these islands. We've just been lately kind of driving around and seeing a lot of mulch. The requirement basically says 50% of your parking lot islands shall be covered by small or medium shrubs. And then the last 50% should be covered by, and we don't have it defined well, mulch, perennials, ground covers, whatever. But when you kind of look at the plants that you chose, a lot of your shrubs are really little. So just you guys look at that again. Just try to get some more coverage, because I'll tell you what, it's just all weeds when we have a lot of mulch left. So it's a favor to you as well as a comment, but I think you've got great, tough, plants. I'm going to just talk about a couple of the sizes that I think are a little large for your case. So on the south side of your Culver's building, where you've got that nice elevation with your windows that are up 24 inches, 30 inches, you've got a row of hydrangea there. Nice, very tough plants. They want to get to about 6 foot tall. So you might just want to look at some that you're not going to have to keep trimming down, just as a comment, now you've been healthy. Around your sign, make you put plants around your sign. The sign plants that you have, one of them wants to get 4 to 6 foot tall, and I think your text is starting at about 18 inches. So just look at those again, because otherwise, they were roses, you're just going to have to keep cutting them back. You won't even have any flowers. Okay. But your materials that you chose are super. That's all I've got.
Can we, if they are going to make changes, just allow staff to review those
absolutely.
At the end? And
it's just
you guys work together on that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my only comments. I think it's, done well. You've tried hard to get, all the requirements.
Great. Any comment on landscaping, anyone? All right, let's move on to the architecture. I'm now located about the middle of page 85. So we're meeting everything. We've got to have a discussion here. Maybe on one side we're a little short on brick, we're a little heavy on stone. We'll tell you that in our site review committees, this applicant has worked extremely hard with Culver's and the architects and himself to pull this together. And while we may have some formulas that are off a little bit, stone, brick, stone, we're still talking a very durable material. So I'm advocating for accepting the architecture as presented.
Yeah, what about changing the color to green and white?
You mean like your shirt and tie?
Yeah. So in regards to building materials, is everybody fine with that in terms of the not meeting the overages? Now we just got another quick one to talk about are the awnings. The staff is noting typically the ordinance says awnings are available for over windows and doorways. They have them on areas of the buildings that don't have windows and doorways, but I think, Lloyd, if you'd like to explain why they're on, show the sides of the buildings. There you go.
Yeah, I think the question may be, as you look either behind the main entrance or similar on the drive-through side, there's awnings that are installed there where there are not windows. But I think part of that is the common architecture for the Culver's buildings. And, as Larry had mentioned, when you look at the standard Culver's building versus where we're at here, I mean, the brick that we've replaced or put in place of the hardy plank siding
is one area, the blue awnings. I mean, there's some areas where we've had to stretch a fair amount and really do our best to satisfy the requirements of the township as well as satisfy Culver's, and they've got to stamp the plans for me as well to make sure that they don't feel like we're deviating too far from their overall architecture for the building. So that's the reason that these are still here, is that's just part of a standard that they have, is you see the awnings over the windows, and you see the awnings in each of those panes, if you will.
Comments? I'm fine with them.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to one of the statutes.
Could very well be. Yeah. So architecture comments, I think we pretty much got through all of those. Anything else on architecture, Troy? I don't see anything in there. So pedestrian access looks like we're good with. Are you guys good with the township engineer and everybody's review letters, fire marshal's review letters? Any other questions for the applicant tonight?
I don't have it.
No?
Oh, I'm sorry, I got one more question, I'm sorry. But I know this is in the pattern book and the plan and the whole bit, but on some properties like Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is not in this complex, we asked that we had a sidewalk connection to M59. Maybe because this is a PD and it wasn't approved, never was, it's not even on the table. I don't know. I just feel obligated to say, is that something that we're striving for or not?
I think that we had this discussion when we had Tim Hortons in here and all. We were looking at the elevation changes between the site up on high and down on M59 and getting into how we were going to zigzag sidewalks and staircase and use ADA, all the complications that got created.
Because it's up with the...
And so we had decided many years ago to not.
Okay. And I didn't know that. I just thought...
Yep.
I just
Well, I
don't think I was here then.
No, you were not. But that's a good question.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I think you'll find on the bottom of page 87, a motion, again, striking the first portion of the sentence on just a move to.
So I recommend to approve site plan application number 17-006, construct Culver's. The planning department recommends the planning commission approve the site plan application, to amend the previously amended site plan for Hartland Township's square plan development to construct an approximate 4,100 square foot Culver's restaurant with one drive-through window, including approval of the architectural and lighting waiver requests with the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall adequately address the outstanding items noted in the Planning Department's memorandum dated June 15, 2017 on the construction plan set, subject to an administrative review by the planning staff prior to the issuance of a land use permit. Number 2, applicant complies with any requirements of the Department of Public Works Director, Township Engineering Consultant, and Hartland Deerfield Fire Authority Fire Marshal.
Well, there was a question regarding the waiver of the lighting.
Right.
Do we want to clarify that?
We're going to have to add, if we can get a second, then what we'll do is let's add that stuff to it. So, Kalani.
I'll second it.
Okay, and now let's talk about adding to that, because you've got your lighting comment. How would you like to offer the wording on the lighting, Sue?
Just like to see if you could give it a second round to try to meet it more in conformance within the site. It's okay on the outside coming off the drives, as we said.
So are you looking for them to meet the five?
Whatever our requirements say within the site, there's an average and not to exceed. You know what we're talking about.
Well, we need to get the word.
No waiver is being granted for the portion of the lighting around the interior part of the site.
Okay, perfect.
That's what we want the applicant to comply with the
lighting standards.
They've got like a maximum of 5, and then they've got an average, but that still leaves you your waiver on your, like you did outside.
Trespass.
At the trespass,
Yeah.
that's still allowed.
Okay.
Well, we know what we're trying to say. Is Carol good at putting that in a few words?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Did you want to put anything in there about the review of the plan materials between the applicant and staff, the plan materials?
Sure.
Okay. The other thing that I would add is I believe it's a motion to approve, not recommend approval, because we'll be approving it. So we'll modify that. Are the two acceptable, the board change is acceptable to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Does everybody know what we're voting for? All right, we have a motion to approve site plan application number 17-006 for Culvers from Commissioner Murphy, a second from Commissioner Kalani. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations and thank you very much.
Yes.
We are now at item 8, call to the public. Anyone? Number 9, planners report. Troy, anything?
This is turning into a fairly busy summer. Just to let you know, we had a fairly, normally we'd only have 1 or 2 cases on. We had 3 cases. We may have 3 cases at our next meeting. We're already pretty well packed for our second meeting in July, and we're even looking at some cases for August. So just to give you a heads up that we are seeing a significant uptick in the number of land use permits, which would be new house permits and or decks and accessory buildings and so forth, as well as development projects. So
That's great. All right. Committee reports, comments, anyone? Motion to adjourn
So moved.
from Commissioner Kalani, second from Commissioner Newsom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Good night.